So we're going to talk a little bit about formatted output and scope. So I figured you guys may want to format your output at this point to make it look a little bit better. And string.format is a method that you can use to kind of customize the way your numbers look. And so I included some popular formats and then how to do custom. And the way this works is you do string.format, and then in parentheses, you give it double quotes, curly braces, and then the format that you want to use. So these are the standard formats. And then this is a custom format. Now be aware, if you use a custom format, these digits are going to print whether they have values in them or not. So it will print zeros if there is not a value there. Okay, and then you give it whatever variable you want to print out. Okay, so the example here with the large number prints out these different ways. If you want to include text or anything else with that formatted printout, you have to use the concatenator. You cannot use string interpolation with this. So let me see, this is not the right one. Let me copy this and kind of show you a little bit how this works. Whoops. Back in here. So as is, this is how it works. Okay, so you can see the currency format actually comes out quite nice. And so does the thousand separator. And for this, the custom format looks okay with the thousand separator because it's a big number. But what if I change this to a smaller number? Okay, now the custom format is not going to look so great. Okay, those other predefined formats still look good, but the custom one is expecting digits in those positions, and that is why you are getting zeros. Okay, now you can also use the hash. And let's see what that does. Okay, so the hash does not print out those zeros. Okay, so if I was doing custom formatting, that might be a better way to go about doing it. Okay, so it's not very hard to put in. I think the hard thing about it is just remembering to use the concatenation if you want additional data. And then that brings me to scope and visibility. So this is more complicated. Scope basically affects where you can use a value, how long it exists and where you can use it. And visibility affects whether it's hidden or not. And so not only do we have scope and visibility for values, variables, we also have them for classes and methods. So we're going to talk about variables first, then we're going to get into classes and methods. And to help you maybe visualize this, we do have 3 levels of scope when we're dealing with variables: class level, method level, block level, which I color coded. So down in this program, class level is green. So you can see I've got some class level variables, which technically are called members, class members. And so you declare them in the class kind of above the methods. Okay, so we've got methods below that. If I want to access these, I can access them in any method that's in the class, okay, because they are known throughout the class. To access them, I have to create a class object. And to do that, I use the class name. I give the object a name, set that equal to new, and then I use the class name again. Once I have the object, I can use the object name, in this case, person, dot name, person dot salary, person dot age to access those values. And that is what I've done here. Okay. Then we have method level scope. So if you declare any variables inside a method, that is where they exist. And you'll notice that I purposefully declared the same variables that I had in my class. And the reason I did this is because when they're in the method, they are hiding what is declared up here in the class. So once I declare them down here, these are the ones that are active. They are the ones that are visible. Okay? And so when I print from the method, it is going to grab the values that I declared in the method. Okay, and you can see here that printout is printing those values. Okay, and then anytime you have curly braces, it can be a for loop, it can be an if. Anytime you have those curly braces, if you declare something inside them, they have block level scope, which means they are known inside the block. So if I declare name, age, and salary, they only exist in this section of code. They do not exist anywhere else. So the ones that I declared up here, again, will be hidden. And when I'm in this block, these are the ones that are being used. So when I print inside the block, these are the values that I'm going to get. So you can see my block level scope is printing those values. Okay. Now, what if I wanted these values to exist outside? I would declare them outside of the block. Okay, just declare them above the block. So we talked about the variables and where you declare those variables affects where they're visible and where they exist. So now we're going to kind of take a step back and we're going to look at our classes and our methods. Okay, so in order to look at the classes and the methods, we are going to look at access modifiers. We deal a lot with access modifiers when we get into object-oriented programming, creating our own classes, and doing inheritance. So this is just going to give you a little taste for them, kind of an introduction. When we declare a class and when we declare a method, by default, they are private. And this is done on purpose. And it allows people to use classes without having to know all the details of the class. Okay, it's called encapsulation. So it's kind of like, you can start your car without knowing how your engine was built. Okay, it's kind of the same concept. So if you have multiple namespaces in a program or a project, so in Visual Studio, we can create these projects and we can set them up with more than one namespace. So if we've got something like this within a single project, and we want to share methods, then we have to make classes public and we got to make methods public. Okay, so any class or method that you want to share in a project, you have to make public. The only reason to make a class public is if you have multiple namespaces. So in this example, in my first class, if I want to access the print string method, which is in a different namespace and a different class. I have to use the namespace, stop the madness, a dot. I got to use my class, scope2, and a dot. And I got to use my method name. And in order to use the class and the method, they have to be public, or I cannot use them. Okay, so that is sharing methods within a project when they exist in different namespaces. Now, what if I've just got one namespace in a single project, and I got multiple classes, and I want the classes to be able to share methods? Okay, then all I have to do is make the method public, because within a namespace, all of your classes know about each other. So nothing is hidden within a namespace at the class level, at least. So all these classes are aware of each other. What is hidden is the methods. Okay, so what I have to do is make those methods public in order to use them. And then I can use the class name, dot, and the method name. And then you can see the output. So to recap here, in a project, if you have multiple namespaces and you want to share methods, the class and the method have to be public. In a project, if you have a single namespace with multiple classes, okay, the classes know about each other. What is hidden is the methods, and you have to make those public. Okay, and if you guys want to play around with this, you certainly can copy and paste these programs because they do run. So don't get discouraged if you find access modifiers confusing. They will become more clear once we get into object-oriented programming. So this is just a little introduction to them.